Before we start today's show, today we want to give a big shout out to Buzz TV. Man, Buzz TV has some really good devices, man. Like this last year, they've come up with some good stuff, and this new year, I'm excited to see what they got.
Yo, it's going to be straight fire. Some devices and features, because I don't want to say one or the other. With Buzz TV, it's hand in hand. They've dropped some fire devices and some amazing features that are always taking things to the next level. We also have been in talks with Omni Labs Robotics, bringing their telecommunication devices and robots to the next level, bringing everybody closer together.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys, their telepresence that you get is very cool. If you guys don't know what telepresence is having a pretty much a robot in front of you where you are remoted somewhere else, and it's like you're there physically, but not really physically. You're there through the robot. It's very cool. Make sure you guys check them out in the description below. Make sure you guys do check out that link.
You also want to make sure that no matter what you do online, you stay protected. There's so many VPN services out there. We talk about all the time. Make sure that you guys try them out. You check them out. See which ones work best for you.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys do check out those VPNs. We do have a couple of them that we recommend in the description below. So make sure you guys do get those. Just get protected, guys. So don't forget to check out the description below for all of these guys that we have shouted out today.
You know, no matter where you guys are listening, watching, whatever from, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, that like, drop us a comment, and the reviews actually help us a great deal. If you're looking to do anything for us in this year coming and beyond, the reviews help other viewers like yourself find this podcast and enjoy it as well. So thank you guys. And with all that being said, let's start the show.
And welcome back to another Beyond the Streams episode. Today we got a special guest, and it's funny, we always have some really good conversations before we actually hit record.
And we have to cut them short. We're like, we got to hit record.
Yeah, we gotta cut it. We gotta cut it short. We're like, hold on. So before we really begin and we continue our conversation, can you please introduce yourself? Where are you from? And yeah, go ahead, take it away.
Sure. Hey, I'm Mac Marshall. I run PR and communications for Turtle Beach Corporation, and that includes the Turtle Beach brand, the Roccat brand, and the Neat Microphones brand now.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. Now, I know Next Level and I have gotten our hands on some Roccat gear and some Beach Turtle gear.
Turtle Beach gear?
Yeah, Turtle Beach gear. And yeah, he's got it back there. Mine's down here somewhere. I got a...
Oh, you got a 700 in the background. I see it, yeah.
Yeah. So I got all kinds of stuff back there.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about before we hit record about a PS5 and the PS5.
Yeah, I was trying to blackmail you into getting me a PS5 at this point. Because I was saying that my daughter, like the moment that she saw the trailer for like that Harry Potter game, she was just like, "We're getting a PlayStation 5," and I was like, "Okay, I know." Like,
yeah, I when I saw that trailer on that PS5, I was on the Harry Potter. I'm just like, that game looks sweet.
Yeah, no, for sure. And anybody who's like, even remotely a fan or knowledgeable of like just the kind of the story and the characters and the world, like it just looks like another neat thing to kind of go play in. And like I said, I have two tween teen fans here that are just kind of waiting for it.
Yeah. I think the game comes out in May or June?
Yeah, I heard like later this year at this point.
Yeah. And I know they keep pushing things back more and more. I'm like, oh, come on. I've been able to play. I played God of War.
Okay. On PS5 already?
On PS5, yeah.
Okay.
Game looks amazing. Like
Yeah, and
amazing.
it didn't look half bad before either on like the prior system, because that's like one of the games like my older daughter sat here and was like, "Can I play it?" I'm like, "No, but you can watch." Like, it's too fun.
It's great. And then right now I'm actually working on Spider-Man.
Okay,
that is a lot of fun. I didn't think I was gonna like it.
I got like real close to finishing the Spider-Man game, and then I put it down, and then like 7 other games got in the way, and I actually need to go back and finish that. You just reminded me.
Yeah. Now, are you doing the? I know there's the Miles Morales, and then there's the one right before that.
No, I have the one from before. Like, there's just the original launch on PS4.
The original one, yeah. That's the one that I'm working on right now. It's pretty good. I've seen some videos where they have like these weird glitches where the characters will be like bouncing around, or they'll like zoom up to the moon or something. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to see that.
I look at that as fun, right? Like,
yeah,
like you see those fun glitches in a game. It's more entertaining at this point for me, because like my kids are like, "What's that person doing?" And I was like, "I don't know, it's neat, huh?" And they're like, "Yeah," and like these things happen. So
yeah,
getting used to it a little bit.
Yeah. Now when you were playing Spider-Man, did you do all the side missions and everything?
I'm like a total open world geek. So yeah, I'll start like most of the time I play those games, which is why it takes me so long. It's just because I'm just screwing around in the world. Like I could probably just spin and like webs and fly around like the world and just do stupid things, and not even on mission or side mission, and just screw around. And then, you encounter something, so you'll go take it out, and then you're like, "Oh, I just did a little thing." Okay. And then it's mostly me just messing around until I get into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about gaming.
Yes. Sorry.
I think we should bring it a little bit back to how it's all relatable to Turtle Beach and where you all got started with them, because Turtle Beach is very relative to gaming as well as Roccat, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think we need to introduce Turtle Beach a little bit more for anybody who is living under a rock. Because as far as if anybody asks me who Turtle Beach is, I say they are the #1 gaming headset in the world. But maybe I'm doing a disjustice to Turtle Beach.
It's not a disjustice, and I think it's just it depends on who it is and how long they kind of been around gaming. But it's funny because even when I've been at Turtle Beach for like 6-something years now, and even before that, I knew about Turtle Beach because I worked at Activision, and we used them for a lot of like the Call of Duty. That's when they were partners with Activision for Call of Duty. But when I started, what was really interesting here, years ago, was that Turtle Beach has been around forever, right? Before they even did gaming headsets, they were like the company's origin story goes like all the way back to 1975.
Wow.
and then over those years, it was like a PC sound card company. It was like MIDI synthesizers and all sorts of like expertise rooted in audio and digital audio. And then over the years, like the company just kind of evolved with where like audio technology and like was going. So it's somewhere, I think it was like 2005, Turtle Beach actually launched the very first console gaming headset. So there are no other like headsets like made specifically for a console gaming at that point. So they launched the first console gaming headset for Xbox 360.
I had that.
And then
was it white?
No, it wasn't white. It was it was what's it called? I'll have to go look it up again. I forget. There's a whole timeline that we made on one of our websites that has all this info though. And then so they launched the first headset. And then ever since then, like that was 2005, they've been in this kind of console gaming headset world. And they've also made headsets on the PC side as well, like here and there. But the core focus was always for like for Xbox, for PlayStation, and even Nintendo over the years. And then now, the past decade, the past 10 years, Turtle Beach has been like the biggest kind of seller of console gaming headsets in the business consecutively for the past 10 years, and then a couple other years on top of that so we've just kind of become, and that's really because we've focused on making headsets for every kind of gamer, right? Whether you're more entry level, whether you want something wireless versus wired, if you want surround sound versus stereo, like it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. We kind of have something at every price point, and that's kind of where we've excelled against other brands that are out there. And then kind of going back to what I said before, was we've made products for PC in the past. but we didn't focus on it as like a core business thing until a couple years ago we acquired Roccat. And I think that was 2019. We acquired Roccat, and they are a company that was born and bred out of Germany and by Rene Corte. And Rene is a former pro gamer, and he stopped like the pro gaming because he wanted to design products that were more performance based for PC gamers, right? And so he took his expertise as a pro gamer and applied it to making products that perform better, that are faster, that are, have a better response rate, and that also just look super sleek and really amazing in terms of the way the look, the feeling, all that stuff. And so that he founded that company in 2007. And they were kind of going along and doing their thing over the years, and we've just recently acquired them back in, I think it was 2019 now, and I've been working on it. So in 2019, we kind of carried over the products that they already had in the works, and then this past year, in 2020, we launched what was kind of like arguably like the first kind of really truly like collaboratively developed gear between Roccat with their German engineering and design expertise, and then Turtle Beach's audio expertise, and especially in their PC headsets.
Right.
And then they also have like the keyboards and mice and mouse pads and really kind of unique like RGB lighting that all syncs up across all the devices. So it's a really, really cool brand. And as somebody who's I hate to, obviously clearly I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, right? But as somebody who's been a gamer like my whole life, going all the way back into when pre-console days, right? As I've used every possible kind of keyboard out there, and some of the Vulcan keyboards from Roccat are arguably like my favorite of all time. Mm-hmm. The way they look, the way they feel, it's perfect for me.
So we actually had a podcast where we talked with a company that does all the licensing for HDMI, and throughout that conversation, it's really interesting to see how consoles have pushed both our expectations and technology to that next level. It was coming. I had to. Yeah. Right. But I think that there has to be something said to what consoles and PC gaming has done to the average person's audio experience as well. Right. Because there's a big difference when someone takes their everyday headphones, plugs it into their PlayStation 5 or to their Xbox or to their computer versus plugging in something that, Turtle Beach or Roccat has actually designed for an audiophile experience, right?
Yeah, for sure. And and what you're talking about is really, the way our products are, or products specifically designed for gaming, right? Versus everybody, kind of more mass, kind of everyday, all use, headsets, headphones, whatever. So yeah, you're a headphone if you want to, and headphone. The difference is headphones don't have a mic, right? Headsets do have a mic. Mm-hmm. Your everyday headphone might sound great for like listening to music, but when you plug it in, depending on what you're used to hearing and what you want to hear, you might not hear like a game like Fortnite or Call of Duty or League or whatever sound the way that you think it should sound because your headset isn't tuned for a gaming experience, right? And that's kind of where
experience, right?
Sometimes it's flat, and obviously there's presets and stuff like that. But you can our headsets a lot of times for console. A lot of console gamers prefer a little bit more bass because you do have a lot of things like gunfire and explosions that will sound better with a little bit more kick behind it. But then there's also games like Fortnite, right? Which Fortnite you kind of live or die by if you can hear somebody coming or not, right? So. Having surround sound in a gaming headset, having we actually do something called superhuman hearing at Turtle Beach, which is really, it's a neat little kind of audio trick where we pull up only low level game audio and we leave the other kind of, ranges alone. So your grenade explosions and all those other sounds are going to kind of sound the same, but what you hear really more clearly is footsteps and things coming from further away. And the idea is that if you can kind of hear them before you can see them, you're going to kind of have a competitive advantage, right? And it actually it legitimately works. We hear all the time people are like, play it with it on, play it with it off. Tell me if you don't have a different gameplay experience, and they do, and they're like, man, that legitimately works. It's really cool. And so now because Roccat is part of Turtle Beach, And in that, like I said, that last round of their ELO headsets that we launched, the ELO headsets, I think one of them actually, the wireless one, the ELO 7.1 Air, actually also has superhuman hearing built into it, just because it's another kind of perk and benefit that they can add.
Right.
Yeah. With I was just thinking about some of the first headsets that I was using back in like PlayStation 2 days, and way back when. And what's funny was I didn't go to the PS3.
Okay.
Because a lot of the games that were coming out were still coming out on the PS2. And the PS2 for me was like hands down, like probably the best console with the best games. They had so many like insane classic games that people still talk about today, And so I skipped it, huh?
I was gonna say name one of your favorites from PS2.
Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I think, like, if I remember correctly, wasn't like the Abe's Oddworld games, like
Abe's Odysseys? Yep.
Yeah, I remember playing those on PlayStation. I think 2 back in the day.
Yep, the Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah. What was that? What was the arena? Wasn't Twisted Metal?
Twisted Metal. Yeah. I played that one. I
missed that.
We're all dating ourselves, by the way, like really bad.
I know. That console just had so many great games, and when the PS3 came out, it was kind of like, well, they're making them still for the PS2. Do I need to buy the PS3? And then the Nintendo Wii came out.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of got away from just headsets and just playing like party games and just doing that.
Sure.
And then I did get so when the PS4 came out, I was like, okay, am I gonna cheat on the PlayStation and go Xbox?
Oh yeah.
Or am I gonna stay because Xbox did an amazing job during PS3 during the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 at that point. That like the 360 was just destroying PlayStation. And I was just like, man, I tried Halo, but I wasn't much of a fan of it. Gears of War was okay, Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, and then I'm like, let me see let me see Xbox One, PlayStation 4. Who's gonna do what for me,
Right.
And I think what happened was, I remember Turtle Beach was like, hey, you guys are going to have access to some of these headsets right away. And I was just like, cool. I'm like, okay, so I'll be able to get a good headset. What kind of games are going to be out there? And then I was looking at PlayStation the PS4 just had a grip ton of games coming out on launch.
Right.
And the PlayStation, the PS Plus thing was just offering a bunch of free stuff on top of it.
Okay.
And I think the nail in the coffin for me was when I said, okay, I'm sticking with PlayStation, was when Xbox fired pretty much their entire indie gaming platform.
Okay.
Like they got rid of everybody on the indie side and created their own department. And PlayStation's like, come to us.
Right.
And so
I've always lucked out at the very least, like on the PlayStation and the Xbox side, and really only because of work that I've lucked out to be able to have both systems pretty much all the time, at like every iteration over the years. And then when Nintendo kind of came into play too, because we did get a Wii, and then we did get Switch, and at this point, because I've the kids have 2 Switches now, so they can play against each other and do lots of have their own accounts and all that stuff too. But I mean, we have a pretty full household here of all game systems. And then my wife is a teacher who's just like, we have too many game systems. So we have to be pretty good about making sure everybody has their limits with all the systems out here. But yeah, it's they all have their unique things though too, right? Like for a long time, up until recently, right? Like Microsoft offered an onboard kind of surround sound option, right, through Windows Sonic for headsets. Whereas up until just now, with PlayStation 5, now Sony has finally kind of launched their full surround sound 3D audio. And so what that means is like, for the Xbox side of things, all of the surround sound was actually being done on board on the console and sent to the headset, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the PlayStation side, prior to that, that meant all of the surround sound was actually done on the headset, right? All the processing had to be done on the headset, so it made a little bit of a different kind of product for us. And then now on both consoles, all the surround sound is being done on the console and sent to the headset. So actually, what that does, though, for somebody, really, it actually makes pretty much any headset that you connect to a PlayStation 5 or your new Xbox Series X or S that has surround sound capability.
Yeah,
and they're really good too. I mean, both options are fantastic.
I've seen those settings and I never knew what they meant. So thank you.
Yeah, that's what that is. So you can kind of change to have, instead of the standard stereo output, it'll change it to surround sound for your headset.
Yeah,
what's even more cool is that we changed in our latest, I think, on the stealth side, one of the ones behind you, even the stealth 700, and there's 600 kind of sibling. We changed the kind of the cavity inside, so you just get this like really amazing kind of soundscape, because it's all tuned for like the 3D audio experience now. So everything in those headsets just sounds like so much kind of crisp and clean and kind of definitively where it should be in the world around you. It's neat.
Yeah, when I tried those 700s, so I got those right when actually, it was funny. Like Next Level knew this, and a lot of people didn't know about this, but I actually had a PS5 sitting in my room before before it was out. But the thing is that
secret's out, man.
Yeah, but the thing is that we a lot of us we weren't able to use it because PlayStation they were just blocking everything. They're like, nope, we'll turn everything on at a certain date where you guys could begin doing reviews and gameplaying and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So finally, because I got a hold of your 700s.
Okay.
And I'm just like, okay, let me see how this works. Cause I used on the PS4, I was messing around with another Turtle Beach and with the PlayStation's headset. I was just going back and forth. Like if one died, I'd jump the other one. And I just got lazy on charging these things,
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed, because the 3D Pulse headsets from PlayStation were like impossible to get. First thing I noticed was the footsteps. Like I was just like, wait a minute. I'm like, and what was crazy when I had the 700s on, I'm just like, it feels like they're up here, like they're above me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they felt like down here, like below me. And I'm just like, it was funny because like my wife was right there in the kitchen. She was snacking on something and she's looking at me. She's like, why are you looking up? I'm like, because I'm over here. Like, I'm like, I hear them up above me. And she's just like, you're looking upstairs. I'm like, well, no, it's the game. I'm like, just mind your business. Leave me alone.
Yeah, but at least you were in a headset, right? Not bothering everybody to have them hear it all too.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty like amazing how all these new consoles are doing stuff like this. So
yeah. And all those big budget games, like when you get into, whatever it is, whether it's God of War, whether it's going to be that upcoming Harry Potter experience, like all those big budget games are just going to have such kind of very interesting kind of soundscapes as you kind of just start to look around and explore things. It's going to be really neat. Also, like what will be neat is when they launch some kind of really cool horror kind of style, games, because that's when also like when you're creeping through like a dark hallway and again, you turn on superhuman hearing, something like that. You can hear like if a critter skitters by your feet, it sounds like creepier that way when you play like horror game, like Silent Hill or anything like that, like in the dark. Those are always fun experiences too with audio.
Yeah.
For the average person, because we kind of just talked a little bit about how the consoles are processing audio, right? Mm-hmm. They were doing it. They threw it on the headphone side, and then they threw it on the actual console side. But how much of that tech has evolved over, I guess, the years with Turtle Beach and Roccat? Like how much tech is there actually involved in the actual headsets now?
There's quite a bit. And that's really what you end up paying for a lot as you kind of start to climb the kind of price ladder, right? Between what would you say it would be entry level and intermediate and core and hardcore and then esports and things like that, right? What you're essentially paying for in headsets is features and functionality and comfort, right? So, you know, most headsets can deliver sound, right? Most headsets can offer you, you know, the ability to pick up your voice through a microphone. Those are good. Other things that come into play are like mic monitoring, right? So when you go from like a passive headset, which means there's no power to it, it's just like, you know, standard 3.5mm jack plugs into something. When you go to like an amplified headset, you get a couple other perks, things like mic monitoring. That's a big one. That means you can hear your own voice inside your own headset, which means you can hear how loud you're talking, which helps you self-monitor your own volume level so that you're not yelling at your teammates and your friends. So that's one.
I think my son needs that.
Right. You can get things like obviously surround sound at that, but you can get amplified audio at that point where you get a little bit of energy, you know, additional kind of bass. And that's where your things like bass boost and your audio presets be able to come into play. You also things like the speaker size, you can go from like a 40mm driver to like a 50 or 60mm driver. So, you know, bigger, you know, the idea is you can get more sound out of you know, more space. And then also, like I said, surround sound, you know, wireless versus wired. And then depending on which surround sound algorithm, you know, you know, Microsoft, like I said, uses Windows Sonic that they send. PlayStation has their own new version now. And before that, we were using like DTS on our PlayStation headsets, but now we don't need to do that anymore, right? So there's lots of different kind of sound options and customization, like, you know, and then also when you get into like the higher end stuff, you get different materials, right? You get metal in the headband, metal frames versus plastic. You also get, you know, we do things like glasses friendly tech for people who wear glasses when they play. It creates like a little channel, doesn't press on the bars of their glasses. You get different kind of more premium materials, like, you know, like a lot of people have switched to that sport fabric kind of spandex like material for your ear cushions because it breathes a lot better. You get memory foam. So there's lots of little things that come into play and kind of as you step up through the categories, and then the tech inside all kind of corresponds to all that, right? You know, you could even have like some of our higher end stuff has had like Bluetooth based, you know, app based controls that you connect via Bluetooth, which is you changing your sound settings on your phone, right? Those things are more premium, but you know you do have to kind of pay for them to get those features.
I kind of have to ask this question because I've always wondered, but I'm not sure if you can answer it, right? These new consoles, they seem like they're coming out once a decade now, but
sure.
How far in advance, or do you guys get an advance notice as to what qualifications or what hardware the next generation's coming out with for you guys to build compatible accessories?
So that's another area where we've managed to just kind of excel over the years in terms of kind of being, you know, we've been a long time partner with Microsoft, right? So as much as they are allowed to give partners essentially, you know, early info and insights on things, they've been great. We have actually not been an official partner of Sony over the years. But similarly, you know, really as quickly as we could find things out, and we're always digging, you know, especially in like a console transition, like it's, you know, almost like a weekly kind of, hey, do you have anything new you can tell us? Because we want to make a headset. And luckily we're first to market with a lot of things, a lot of products. Like I mentioned before, we not only invented like the first console gaming headset, we also put the first surround sound in a gaming headset. We also did the first wireless gaming headsets. Like we've been first to market on core things. So even like when the new Xbox and PlayStation came out, we had those Gen 2s, the Stealth 600s and the 700s out ready to go ahead of the launch even at that point. And what was neat about that is, you know, we had gotten word that we'd gotten as much early word that, you know, we knew PlayStation was working on onboard surround sound from the console, which is great. But it also helped us kind of inform, you know, some decisions because for the PlayStation 4, this is an interesting example, right? For PlayStation 4, surround sound is done on the headset, but for PlayStation 5, it's done on the console. So we still left on the 600. If you're using it on a PlayStation 4, that goes back to why we redesigned the cavities so that it kind of creates this really big, wide sound space that sounds like surround sound, because the 600 doesn't do surround sound process anymore. It comes from the console on PS5, but it still sounds very surround soundish on PS4. It's a trick, right? But we wouldn't have known to make those decisions without that early notice from kind of talking to our partners at Microsoft and our friends over at Sony.
So my question now is, when is the new Nintendo coming out? Do you know anything yet?
No, and Nintendo's being like, that's been such a like kind of interesting experience to kind of have to navigate, right? Because you have a platform that's designed to be both handheld and kind of entertainment center. So, and those are two very different headset experiences, right? So if you're playing it handheld, you can only use a headset that has a 3.5 jack to plug physically into the port on the handheld console. And that's great if you're on the road or doing whatever. But if you're at home and you're sitting on a couch that's, 10, 15 feet away from the TV, then you're not going to want to use a wired headset if you don't have to. So it's kind of funny, like some of our USB headsets, you can actually plug the USB on and you can still get game audio for, if you're just sitting there, but you can't get chat audio. Like there's just lots. It's like weird waters to navigate because you get some functionality depending on which like how you're using your Switch.
Yeah.
But when Fortnite came around, right, and they were the first game to do in-game chat, that opened up all sorts of doors for us.
Yeah. And I'm very interested on, so I guess Nintendo normally waits about a year or two after the consoles, the Xbox and PlayStation come out,
They do their own thing.
Yeah, they kind of do their own thing. They don't want to, it's funny, they don't want to really compete. They don't really want to say, hey, let's jump in.
They need to. It's like they've developed their own kind of audience, right? Like even, like a lot of hardcore Xbox or PlayStation gamers, if a new Nintendo system comes out and it's legit, and let's be honest, they usually are, then you're going to get both, right? You're going to have one and the other.
I kind of look at like a fast food combo. You have your burger with your totally. PlayStation and your Xboxes, and then your side is usually a Nintendo product. People
I don't think Nintendo wants to be called the side, but yeah.
Yeah, typically it's, a lot of people love their Mario, their Mario Kart, Legend of Zelda.
Those are the games like even now, like where like, my wife doesn't play a lot of games, right? She's not her thing. But like if she walked out and saw that I was sitting on the couch with my kids playing like Mario Kart, or like she'd be like, okay, like give me the other controller, right? Yeah, it's go time.
Yeah. So I guess with PlayStation 5 just announced their VR 2.
Okay.
They said, I think they said that it's not coming out this year.
Right.
And they didn't really give a date of when it was going to come out, but the remotes that they were showing, at least the articles and everything that we've been reading, looked pretty cool. Like the way it kind of fits in your hand, and then it's funny because I like to say a lot of like PlayStation and Xbox, they're like Nintendo comes out with something and they're like, ooh, what can we go with that? And I almost feel like they kind of copy Nintendo a little bit,
like just in general,
Nintendo like the motion stuff.
They make some good choices. They're a good kind of thing to look at, I guess, in that capacity of how they do things.
Yeah, and I always feel Nintendo, like, they always do their own thing. They don't really care what Xbox or PlayStation's doing. They're like, let's just do this motion thing with this remote, and next thing you know, like for me, this is how I compare it. They do the Wii.
I was literally just gonna say, like, look what they did with Wii, right? Like,
yeah, look what they did with Wii. It's pretty cool, and I think what they're gonna do is, or at least I'm hoping, PlayStation 5 now has these pretty cool VR things that you're gonna be able to use, right, wireless and stuff. The new headset, it looks like it's just gonna be one wire that's gonna connect to something. I'm not really. I didn't get the previous version because I was just like, it's gonna.
I haven't done any of the VR. Like I've done it, but like I haven't purchased. Like we don't own like the PSVR or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's been it's interesting because we did do some stuff. We had a headset called like the Stealth 350 VR, and that was kind of designed for when the PSVR came out, and it was, you know, a headset that was designed to kind of go, oh, you know, you already have a headband on holding like the VR unit on your head, and this was designed to kind of comfortably go over all of that and kind of all, you know, all of the other wires, and it was neat. But I gotta be honest, I don't know enough about that to go look into it. You know, we don't currently have anything else on the dock for that just yet.
Yeah. So let's just say once PlayStation comes up with their whatever that VR thing is going to be, do you guys normally take that and say, hey, how can we integrate this with?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we worked as close as we could in like we're not a partner kind of capacity, but we did kind of design that one headset to be more like specifically a PlayStation designated headset that worked with it and kind of provided, again, like a deeper kind of wider audio experience. Like in some of the earlier kind of headsets that came with like the PSVR or any of the other kind of VR units, they were pretty, like there was audio included, but that was kind of about it. And so we, again, kind of added a little bit more, you know, depth, and, you know, we added surround sound, you know, 3D surround sound on that as well. And so that certainly made it neat. But like I said, right now, I don't know enough about what Sony's doing yet to say that we may or may not have another one in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just unfortunately like one of those areas that I could tell you a lot about other things, but the VR stuff, like I haven't seen anything yet to lead me to say that we have one coming.
Yeah. All right. I'll keep my eyes open.
Yeah.
I know that you guys have made console specific products, right? And I was curious, do you think that any one of your products that you guys have released may have influenced someone deciding between a certain console?
You know, there's always the chance, right? You could say, I don't know, like I think at this point, I think a lot of people had their favorites, right? Like they were either kind of in the Xbox camp or in the PlayStation camp or in the camp of both, right? I'll get one, but you know, I don't necessarily know if like a headset, like if, you know, I would say like you probably buy your headset knowing that you're gonna get, like if you bought a Stealth 600 before the new Xbox came out, right? And you were using it with the Xbox, you know, One, like then you could say, I'm going to buy that headset and know that it's going to work with the new Xbox when I get that in a couple months. But I can't say, I can't say that I think like people would say, oh, I want that headset because I'm going to get like, I want that system because I'm going to get that headset. I don't know if it works that way. I think people are pretty much kind of console first, and then, you know, and look at like, there's still a little bit of room to brag here, right? Like I think like when you look at like once they pick their console, like a lot of people go pick a Turtle Beach headset, so that's good for us. You know, it means we're doing our job right, and that there's enough options out there for them. And like I said, in terms of like what they're looking to spend or what they're looking to get out of a certain headset, because like a lot of people will kind of graduate from like, you know, like a more kind of like entry level wired, you know, $50 headset, and eventually, like maybe when a new console comes out and they're going to jump in, they're, you know, now's the time to get a new one too. Maybe that's when they're going to go from like, you know, maybe like a $50 wired headset to like $100 wireless headset with surround sound. Right.
Console gaming has evolved so much. I used to play a lot on the Xbox 360. And when I had my son, I kind of just took off my Turtle Beach headphones and handed them over to my son. And I gave him my console and all that stuff. Right. And when I walk into his room now, he has a desk and I have a monitor that's set up that's attached to both his computer and his Xbox, right? Okay. So when I walk in, I see him using a Roccat keyboard because I have a Roccat keyboard here, and I have the one without the number pad because it's nice and
that's what I'm using right now.
It's just the form factor is beautiful, the build quality, I love it, right? The colors are amazing. But what blows my mind is that he's not using the mouse or the keyboard for his computer. He has a game that he plays that's called Ark. And he uses the mouse and the keyboard and the Xbox controller all at the same time to play this game on the Xbox.
Okay. That's interesting.
So there's an in-game chat, and instead of using the Xbox chat controller thing, which is
let's be honest, it's a pain.
Right. And he can look around and move better with a mouse attached to the Xbox, and he can use the keyboard to do all these different commands. And I'm not even going to pretend to understand what the game's about. He's like a caveman taming dinosaurs and building. I don't even know, but he's able to use all these things and trick me when I come in thinking that he's using a computer, but he's not.
And he's doing his homework, but he's not.
but I'm not trying to say he's tricking me to get out of his homework, but you know, so 10 years ago, we would have never thought of plugging in a keyboard and a mouse to our Xboxes and our
PlayStation. If your friend walked into your house and that was there, they'd be like, what are you doing?
Hacker man.
It's a totally different dynamic, man. There's kind of a use case for everything now.
I really wanted to talk just really briefly right now because I know that we've been talking for a minute, but
I'm good. If you guys want to run longer, it's fine by me.
Yeah. So I've been a big fan, and I'm just gonna say it. I've been a big fan of Logitech because I've used them for a very long time. And the main thing that surprised me when I had that Vulcan in my hand was the build quality is the same.
It's out of this world.
I even looked at it and I was like, the brushed chrome metal is the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, this isn't a cheap product. This isn't a downgrade from my Logitech. These are premium brand products.
This is what I was saying earlier, which is like, and you know, probably around the same, like, you know, age, whatever. Like I've been around, I've been in this industry a long time. I've used every keyboard that, you know, from everybody, like whether it's for a month, a year, 5 minutes, like I've tried all of them. Like it's just, and the Roccat stuff, I love it, man. Like it feels great. I don't know, I don't know if you have the Pro one with the optical switches yet, or if you have just, yeah. So if you have it's either the TKL or the TKL Pro. But either way, the Pro ones, the optical switches are like the super fast responsive ones. I wonder if you could just look on the back of it.
Yeah, I have to run over because it's not at this desk. He has it over at the Xbox.
Yeah, if you look on the bottom, it should say. So, but
I got the Pro
switches. The optical ones are like super cool because they're like legitimately like way faster in terms of like response rates, right? In terms of like how it responds to your keystrokes. It's like up to 100 times faster than the standard mechanical switch response rate.
Wow.
Right. And not only that, because it's an optical based switch, which means like the actuation is based on light. Like once the sensors senses the change in the light, that's when it responds. There's less parts in the actual switch. So now you also have like up to, I think it was like 100, like twice the lifespan of a standard mechanical switch as well, right? Which is just like, so there's no real reason to not like look at, you know, Roccat was a really interesting kind of acquisition for us because, you know, look at like we're Turtle Beach, right? Like we could have gone back. We even tried at one point. We did launch, you know, when we were kind of testing the waters for how far we wanted to kind of venture into the PC kind of market, we did launch a round of PC keyboards earlier, like a few years back, and they were well received. But at the same time, you know, if we really wanted to kind of do it in the way that like, you know, some of the other players in that PC space do it, with having a good variety of not only just like keyboards, but also mice and PC specific kind of headsets and other PC gear. We got Roccat because they were already an award-winning brand based in Germany, right? And that the fact that we could acquire them and essentially hit the ground running instead of, you know, if we went the other direction and kind of started again from scratch and said, okay, we want to design a round of keyboards and mice and headsets and all this stuff, it would have been 2 to 3 years from then before we really got things kind of going. And so what's neat is, you know, like I said, Roccat was already known for their design. They're like, again, the build quality that like these keyboards are like, they look sleek, they feel great. Like and now, what Roccat didn't have before Turtle Beach, which they have now, is kind of like, you know, beyond just the audio expertise that we add to them on the PC headset side, but they also have like our global kind of reach and distribution and retail relationships that they didn't have before, right? And so our goal for Roccat all along is like, let them keep making, like Rene is still the head of PC product development. He still runs the Roccat studio in Hamburg, Germany. We want them to continue doing what they're doing because they've been doing a great job. But now we want to put that stuff in kind of more people's hands and really just show everybody like what Rocket's all about, because it does have, it is an absolutely like kick-ass like PC gaming brand. And like really, I think you guys agree, like everybody that I've kind of had the opportunity to show this stuff to, and whether that's, fortunately at the time, like in person, but, before COVID, and then since COVID, obviously just mailing people stuff and having video and chats and phone calls, like everybody that we send stuff to has been genuinely impressed.
100%.
So
100%.
Yeah.
When you say that, you just want to help them get their global span, I guess, reached, the demand is already there for them, because when I look at, some of the content creators that they've established connections with, like Allier, Mr. Savage, Dr. Disrespect, just to name a few. Yeah. As content creators, I'm sure that Rojas will agree with me more than probably I even understand the situation myself.
There's a few more to come and to be announced shortly.
But as a content creator, we don't just partner with any brand. There's a lot of stuff that gets sent to us where we're like, we don't even want to review this. You know what I mean? So to have some big names like that are constantly using your gear, and not even just using it, but allowing your face to be put to it, right, on their websites and their advertisements and their marketing, I think it really speaks to the quality and the team behind it.
Right, and that's kind of look at like, so we've. I've been around and kind of have helped sign, deals with Optic Gaming and Hector, all the way to Doc and some of the others, and being like physically present in some of those kind of introductory meetings where like, hey, here's the keyboard that you can see for the first time, or here's the headset that like, hey, take a look at this, like, let us know what you guys think. You're dead on, right? But like, I could say that like, any team, I'll use Optic as an example, because it's like they would not use our gear if it didn't work for them, if it didn't do what it needs to do for them at a professional competitive gaming level. Right? They would go somewhere else. Like 100%. That's just the way it works. And so the same thing on the Roccat side, like the moment we started kind of, because all those partnerships you just mentioned, not that they couldn't have happened on their own, but they certainly are derivative of, they've happened since, Roccat was acquired by Turtle Beach, and we've kind of connected the dots and introduced them. Like, we were already working with Doc. We were already doing this. Again, you put something in front of Doc, like if he doesn't like it, he's not going to use it. He's not going to put it on his, right? Like
it is.
It's crazy. So, I mean, the stuff really does, not only look beautiful and work, it performs, right? They're literally performance minded in the way they're built.
Yeah. Now I got to ask future stuff. What are you guys currently working on that you're allowed to talk about?
I will say that there is another Vulcan keyboard on its way.
Ooh.
And another Pro one too. So I was talking about I'll talk about that real quick, like the difference between the optical and the mechanical switches, right? So mechanical switches, Rockat's own mechanical switches were already faster than standard mechanical switches. Mm-hmm. And then they did the optical switch, and the optical switch, like I said, actuates based on the laser and the light underneath it, right? The moment that senses that the key is moved, right, it's sending that signal versus like waiting a little bit longer for a mechanical switch to kind of have that actuation. So it's just now there's some people like speed, like the difference between like reds and browns, right, in terms of like the way your keys feel and the kind of force and feedback they give you. So the couple pros that we've launched so far, the Vulcan Pro keyboards, both of those have been with like the linear kind of speed, red kind of key switches. Even though they're optical switches. And now we're going to launch a tactile version that has it's not quite as fast in terms of like that speed key, but still very fast, still faster than anything else. And then has just a little bit of a different, that kind of fan favorite feel. And that's probably, let's be honest, for me, like who does more typing than gaming at this point, it'd probably be better for like, typing and gaming. Whereas the kind of speed keys are a little bit more for, the fast gaming.
Nice.
So that's one thing that's coming. Let's see what. Let me look at my handy list here real quick and see what else there was. There's some very cool stuff coming next week. You should pay attention. Very, very unique stuff happening next week around Roccat in particular. On the Turtle Beach side of things, there's certainly some new partnerships on both sides, Turtle Beach and Roccat. Some new partnerships that are just on the horizon that are going to be great for as we continue to kind of grow both brands, and then also some new colors of some favorite headsets are going to be coming too, right? So just to kind of, again, our goal here is always to kind of, to have like the most variety out there, both in terms of like what you get at a certain price point. So we do have something at every, it's like at the $30 price point, and then 40 and 50 and 60. Like they just kind of go up. We go up to like around north of $250. But then also to have color options and varieties at each of those price points too. Some people like standard black headsets, some people like white. We've done reds. We've got some other unique colors coming. We did like that white one, the Spark with like lavender accents last year or a couple years ago. That's done really well. So we're kind of just adding more variety in just the mix of things.
Nice. Yeah.
And there's other things that I wish I could talk about. Like, other categories that we're going to be stepping into in the next few months, which will be very interesting, but I can't talk in depth about that yet. So if we circle back at some point, say, I'd say like, let's plan to connect again, if not sooner, but like coming in and around when E3 is coming up,
June.
right? In like kind of that May, June timeframe. Let's revisit, and I'll have a lot more to talk about, and a lot more new products and things to just kind of reveal and show you guys and talk about. For sure.
Part 2 coming soon.
Part 2, for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there's going to be some new news coming out. If the listeners or people watching the actual show would like to keep in touch, is the best place on the websites or?
Yeah, for I think social, obviously, both Roccat and Turtle Beach each have their own kind of social channels on the the usual places on Twitter, on Insta, on Facebook, things like that. That's always a good place. The Turtle Beach blog is also great. I think a lot of people don't know this, but like our blog is like one of we always try and like center the stories that like around something to do with gaming and audio on our headsets, but like a lot of the time like we're also kind of reporting on like what's just kind of current trending hot topics in the industry. So if you're ever just in the mood for like some good gaming editorial, like that Turtle Beach blog actually has like a lot of just cool content and stories on it. It's definitely worth a browse. And then like I said, when we're gonna break news, you can always find it on our social as well.
Awesome. Very excited.
I mean, like news that like gamers care about, not like, like corporate stuff, but like, the actual like, new products and stuff.
Yeah. Super excited to see what you guys have coming out soon. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye out. And then, man, E3, are they doing E3 in person or?
No, it's digital now this year. And then like all of the different kind of vendors and kind of show producers are kind of now doing the digital event. Everybody's kind of talking about how to accomplish everything now. So those are all the kind of big discussions now to kind of facilitate what happens in June for like another digital E3. And I think I did see that like Gamescom. I'm pretty sure I think Gamescom is also digital now too.
Damn.
Which is like the other really, really kind of big global kind of gaming one.
Yeah. Hopefully once all this COVID's done, we'll be able to.
Yeah, man. You'd like to think that maybe it's kind of funny because like I still go even like like next year, like it's like, do you still want to go to remember even pre-COVID, if you would go to E3, like there's a good like 80% chance you're going to come home with like the E3 flu, right? Like
the E3, it's exactly what everybody said.
Right? So like I remember like I had even for like a few years now, I had already cut out like not to be a jerk, but I just cut out physically shaking hands with people, and I had only moved to like 100% fist bumps, just being like, hey man, what's up, quick. And that worked. People were like, yeah, that guy's weird. And like now I'm like I told you so, like because now nobody's gonna be shaking hands or doing anything anymore. E3 next year will be interesting, depending on obviously like where things go with COVID and vaccines and recovery and all that stuff.
Yeah, I did CES last year.
Okay.
Well,
last January, but pre-lockdown.
It was pre-lockdown, even though COVID was already here.
Yeah,
they weren't
but
really
they didn't know about it yet.
We're really talking about it yet,
right?
And I quote,
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it was interesting because I remember it was my first time going to CES, and I was like, kid in the candy store, like, holy crap, like all this tech here, and we got back. It was I did a crazy turnaround. We took off. We got there the last day of CES.
Mm-hmm.
Drove from here to Vegas. Got there, checked in, got up super early the next day. Spent all day, and then that night we went to some Cirque du Soleil show. And next day came back, and it was crazy. It was just super fast, and then got back here, and we had the CES flu.
Right. Yeah.
We both were feeling kind of cruddy, and then we look back at it now, we're just like, wait a minute, we were sick, like sick, and yeah, we were feeling good for a while. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I like, and I think like it's funny because like my wife will tell me the same thing. I think I got sick like somewhere like the tail end of January. It was because I remember I was just coming out of like feeling really bad, like when Kobe had passed away. And I remember my wife coming into like I was locked in the bedroom, and she's just like, "Did you hear what happened?" And I was like, "No." And because I wasn't paying attention to anything that whole like for at least like a week. And then so I remember that. But like I feel like there's a good group of anybody who got sick in that kind of like late January, February is like, I think I had it.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. It's crazy.
They need to cure this thing or contain it somehow or something.
By the way, my favorite CES story of recent note, it wasn't last year because I didn't go. It was like a couple years ago. So, and this isn't like a thing against height for anybody. I'm like 5'9". I'm not like a tall person.
But we're all around the same height then.
Okay. So I went to CES, and one of our old coworkers was this guy, Nick, and he's 6'8". He's a giant, right? He's huge. And so I just remember walking the show floor with him. I'd just be like, well, where do you want to go? And he's like, let's go over there. I'm like, okay. And I didn't have to do anything. Like, you walk through like E3 and it's super crowded. You walk through like, man, I just stood behind Nick, like, and just kind of like, if you remember like the Princess Bride and Andre the Giant's like, everybody move. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, but just seeing like the sea, and how crowded it is. Like you were saying, you just see the sea of people just parting as he's like walking by. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is like every trade show should be like this for me from now on.
Yeah.
Rent a giant.
He eventually left Turtle Beach, unfortunately, but we're still buddies.
Yeah. It's funny because we actually have a couple subscribers that they're constantly on our show and they'll be chatting and stuff. There's even one that I said, hey, you're going to be my bodyguard. I think she's like 6'6" or something.
Right.
Her husband's like 6'7", 6'8". And so I'm over here sitting at like 5'7" ish, 5'8" maybe.
Right.
So I'm over here like, cool. I'm gonna hide that bodyguards. I'll just walk behind you.
That's funny. Yeah, all like ironically, like, all of my like good friends over my lifetime have always been like really tall people for some reason. So
yeah, same here. I'm like
counterbalancing my world.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there is an app developer, I think there's a market for a Tinder version of connecting shorter people with taller people for special events once the market opens.
I'd be surprised if that doesn't exist already.
Yeah.
Not for like a relationship, but more for companionship and
communal.
Hey, I need you to part the sea of people.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to go to this thing. Do you want to go and just be in front?
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I was lucky when I went on that last day because it was I got there before anything was open, so I got to check in. I went to the Vegas convention. That's where like everything is happening.
Yeah.
You know? So I went in and we got some coffee, and they had that little snack area right there. And then we went to way on the other side. There's a company called Buzz TV that is a sponsorship of our podcast. So I was looking at the map and they're just like, oh, we're number 14,000. And I'm like, what the 14, what? Like, dude, 1,000, what?
It's going to be a minute.
Yeah. So I'm just like, dang it. So we got to the door and, it was like hardly anybody was there yet. And they were just like, okay, just give us a few minutes. And they started letting us, like, whoever was there really, really early, they're just like, just go in, who cares? And I'm like, really? Sweet. And it was last day, you know? So
yeah,
that's
one of the like the nice things happen when people are just like kind of over it and like, just come on in. It's fine. Like,
So it was great. I had my camera. I didn't have crowd and I was just going through it. And it was funny because it was like out of like maybe like 10, 20 minutes later, it was like a sea of people were coming in. And I'm like, what's that noise? And I look over, they're just a group of people. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, let's jump out of the way.
There was an E3. I think this was the last time we actually did a physical booth on the show floor of an E3, as opposed to like, the past couple of years we've just done like meeting rooms off of the show floor. But the last time we had a physical booth space, we were right at the front of the doors to whatever hall we were in. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like the South Hall or something like that. And I just remember like, they blow the horn and let everybody in. And like, we almost kind of had like all of our kind of booth staff, like everybody just take a step back and get up on top of something, because like, it's just the herd of people just running through to the show floor to get to whatever kind of, booth or game or thing they wanted to go see. And it was kind of the same thing over like, I don't know if you've been to like Comic-Con,
yep.
and ever, but like Comic-Con San Diego is like, it's almost like Comic-Con. Like, just, you got to clear like the walking ways, because the moment they let people in, it's like, there's two groups of people. There's the people that definitively know what meeting they have to be at and where they have to go. Mm-hmm. And then there's like everybody else who just gets caught up in like the hustle. Yep. And you see it if you stand in your booth and you watch. It's really funny because they'll all start running in and they'll hit a corner where they have to go one way or the other, and they run in place until they decide which way they're going to go, just based on like it's the funniest thing.
Yeah. I got to see my first Comic-Con San Diego was 2016.
Okay.
And I was actually I used to talk to oh my gosh, Jessica Negri. She's a huge cosplayer, dresses up all the time.
The name sounds familiar. Okay.
And then I also talked to, the other one was Yaya Han, which is another one.
Okay.
So they're just big in the whole cosplay thing, and they had their own booths and everything.
Okay.
That's actually how I got in. They were just like, hey, we'll just give you a pass. I'm like, really? I'm like, hell yeah. So I got in there, and exactly what you're saying, it's exactly what it is. Like, you see like all these people just rushing, and they're like, it's funny because they're like bouncing up and down.
Yeah, they're just so giddy and excited. Like, it's like, I don't remember if I've ever been that excited about anything, but like, man, that's awesome. It's really, I've got the funniest, a great Comic-Con story. I'll close on that then, because I'm going to run in a few minutes. But so you know how difficult it is to get into Comic-Con a lot of times, right? Yep. So this is one of the years, I used to go to all of them because, again, I worked on like the Marvel Comics stuff at Activision back in the day. So I used to go to Comic-Cons a lot. We've done things there with like Stan Lee in the past, and so it's always been a fun event. And plus, like, my wife's family is also from San Diego, so it was always like a free ticket to go down. Like, she can stay with the in-laws, and then I just go do this, and she'd come to the show floor and then walk around, and then that was it. But like, just getting tickets, getting onto the show floor has always been like, difficult. So I remember one year I was checking in to the hotel, and the lady working at the hotel, the front counter, she just had that flustered look on her face, mm-hmm. and just was kind of like huffing, like, and I was like, "You're okay?" And she's like, "I've been trying to get tickets to this Comic-Con thing for my husband because it's like he's a huge fan, and just the whole system broke this morning, and I wasn't able to get tickets, and I'm just really," and I'm like, "I can get you on the show floor if you just want to walk around for like with your husband for like a day," and she's like, "No, you can't," and I'm like, "I totally can." And she's like, okay. So I'm like, here, and this is, so I worked at Actors at the time. I showed her my card. I'm like, this is who I am. Like, if you call me, come to outside the convention center, call me. I will walk out with a couple guest passes and bring you guys in, and just go walk around, have your day. And when you're done, come back and give me the passes back, and you're good. And she's just like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "I'm dead serious." And she's like, "Can I do anything for you?" And I'm like, "You can put me in the best suite that you have available in the hotel, I guess." And she's like, "Okay, so hold on a second." So she goes and like check something, and she's like goes another machine, checks something, goes back, and like gets her manager to come over and like approve something. So I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "Okay, so you're gonna go up to the top, and so we put you, and this is your room." So I'm like, "Okay." So I go up, and basically in this hotel, I didn't know any of this, by the way. There's 3 rooftop suites on this hotel, and they cover the span. So it's like basically 3 small apartment or big apartments. Like they make up the entirety of the hotel. Yeah. So I got the one in the middle. Apparently that was her reward bringing me for this. So I call my wife. I'm like, "Dude, you gotta like we gotta have like a party here or something." This is bigger than our house. And so sure enough, like, we have I tell everybody at work, I'm like, "You guys gotta come into my room. This is fantastic." And we go outside on the rooftop kind of patio area. And, again, I worked at Activision. We had done a Marvel game, and we had hired some celebrity talent to be there too. And I didn't realize that we had put them in the same place. So outside was Val Kilmer, just kind of out on his side, because he was doing VO for one of the characters in the game. Yeah. He was just outside, like on the roof next to us. And then Jamie Chung, who's another famous actress, she was on the other side of me too. And I was like, "Oh, hey, this is great." So it was like a full time like random baller moment that lives on in infamy.
Yeah. I would have been like, "Hey, can you dress up as Batman and get over here real quick?"
Yeah, like, "Oh, we got some stuff we got to do right now."
You just come over and say, "I'm Batman."
And then what's even more funny is like a few years later, I was taking like a motorcycle safety, like rider safety course. And so this girl walks, and it's like, just over at the college near my house in Long Beach. And this girl walks in to take the course, and she's very good looking. And like, movie level, like good looking, and walks in, and she sits down at the table across from me. And I'm like, "I know that girl." And it was Jamie Chung. It was the girl who was in the VO. I'm like, "I know you." And she's like, "You were the guy on the roof." And I was like, "I was." On the roof. She got her motorcycle rider's license course done the same day I did.
Nice. That's awesome. Small world. Some good, very small world. Some really, really good stories. So this is the part of the show where we always give whoever our guest is any last thing you want to tell us, any last words, any last shout outs, any promos or anything that you want to do before we start closing it out. This is your time.
No, I think, whether it's Turtle Beach or Roccat, it's, if you're looking for, a gaming headset or a PC gaming accessory that's just kind of going to give you a genuine competitive advantage, if that's your interest, that's the place to look.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome conversation. Thanks for joining us on this.
No, yeah, and thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry it took so long to just get it coordinated and get in and find out.
It's all good because it's going to be a lot.
We have to do this again. Come, like I said, like late May, or June or whatever. Let's circle back and have a follow.
Definitely. We're gonna have more than a few conversations for sure, because I know there's a lot more conversations coming. So
yeah, for sure.
Just make sure everyone who's listening on the podcast side to make sure that you leave us a review so other people can join in on the conversations and leave comments as well. And if you're listening on the chat or on YouTube, make sure that you leave us a comment and let us know what was the most interesting thing that you learned about Roccat or Turtle Beach.
There you go. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we're happy to answer questions.
Yeah, for sure. And with all that being said, once again, thank you for coming onto the show. Where you definitely got to do a follow-up to see what else you guys have coming. And everybody else stay tuned to the next episode, because you never know who's going to be here. And with all that said, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
Cool. Thanks, guys.